presentation.
Good evening, Court membership. I'm Deputy Town Administrator Jeremy Oliver with Town of Lincoln. So I appreciate you guys allowing me to take some of your time tonight in your meeting. I put a little presentation together, a couple purposes, just mainly for informal information, some more context. You know, as we talk about your kind of latest project of the working through the pool expansion or another pool amenity or another aquatics amenity. And I know there's some, you guys have been working with Keith and Amanda through your meetings and getting information, kind of being around that and connected to those two. I felt like I should provide a little more context, what's in kind of inside my head, not to tell or educate, but just to formulate maybe a more thorough discussion. And maybe a lot of you previously may have seen it or heard it or been around those plans, and it's not intended tonight to, it's just, like I said, it's real informal. What I want to do tonight is kind of pull back from, in the beginning of the presentation, pull back a little bit of the bigger picture, and get a bigger context and a little more information. Maybe you have it, maybe you don't. If you do, that's great. We can move forward into the second part of the update with the pool concepts and things like that. And if not, we can discuss a little bit more to help us all, you know, make the best decision we can, if that makes sense. So I appreciate it. So when I start out, as you guys know and familiar with, this is just taken from our Parks Master Plan in 2018. When Chris arrived here, him and I started to get a plan for we really didn't have a plan. We had lots of ideas, whether it was staff or community, and we didn't have a plan for our park system. So this is just this page taken from our master plan. I highlighted some stuff as part of the process, as you're very familiar with, is you know, we actively work with our public, we identify the project, we take it to our board, we have, you know, a certain amount of meetings, we might have open houses, we might have social media, public interaction. Typically they come back to the port, they're approved or recommended through that, and we go to the board and so on and so forth. So that's why I just want to identify that the picture that you see is the four big pieces that I want to talk about. So we identified 4 parcels of land that we had, or 3, excuse me, and 1 renovation of our anchor, kind of what we thought was our anchor park downtown. We felt over time, since it was one of our original ones that became outdated, got a lot of traction as we went through our 2016 port plan, where we kind of said, hey, would it be good to renovate the town park, as you know, as we grow, and that pool was starting to show some problems and some issues at that time that you're well aware of, I'm sure, as well. So those pieces are, you know, to the north, Richardson Park, and Knievel property, the Wagner, and the town park. Some of this language is taken from that port, just to show you kind of how, just the plan that we kind of started out as we started to work through some of our projects with you all and staff and the community. You know, the rec center, you can see that, this is prior to we're starting. People want special event spaces, things like that, athletic fields, and then their top priorities back then in 2016 was the trail connection and more athletic fields. So we moved into Wagner Farm. We identified kind of a priority of Wagner Farm. We felt was the rec center. After some talk, back and forth with a lot of input, that was a location that was settled on. So we started working towards, you know, there was a vote here, and then to decide if people wanted it, and obviously we needed funding, so that was why, second part of why it went to vote. So it just shows you kind of the process back then. You know, we do the pictures, these come from our Parks Master Plan, and we started building the rec center as our first project. The second project we thought we identify as either Richardson or Town Park, depending on how the economy was, our budgets were. Knievel was the 4th priority at the time, a long ways away, maybe 10 or 12 years at the time. So just want to show you a little bit. You guys understand that we built the rec center that turned out really nice, we believe. Very nice property, very nice complex. So the second part of this, and as we'll get there too, is the second part is the arboretum that came about in this legend. I believe it's like it kind of shows up in, number 13 and 14, and towards the end, those bigger numbers, 17. And what it does, why I'm showing you these, is it just drives kind of our planning and how we set up, get feedback, and we need to show people the past input from committees, past input from boards, and make those changes moving forward, and what today, if they need to make changes, or if we need to continue on. The next one is Town Park. That was the second one. When we were finishing up, the rec center, completed that. We took on both Richardson and Town Park at the time as far as the design process, because the design process, depending on the project, the rec center took about 2 years to get through the design before we get construction documents. Richardson, as I'll explain too, is at construction documents. That took about 2.5 years. Town Park, we started even though we just finished it and opened it, Town Park started in 2022 with design and stuff. So it just gives you kind of a scope and a scale of how long, some of these things are planned out. So the left side images are kind of the initial 2018 master plan. The pool is taken out, and splash pad and the courts, and then you see the ball fields is changing, and the hope is that Richardson, as we call it MVP Park now, but we would move fields. The pool was almost 50 years old at the time. A lot of issues there, and with the rec center being built, the sentiment at the time was that not to duplicate amenities as best we could, and when we did projects, is to do as many check boxes as we could, from life of one to whatever 90s or whatever you want to say, and try to check as many boxes as we could for many people when we try to do these projects. And so taking that pool out and not rebuilding it, in case you didn't know, was that the rec center was up and running. That maybe satisfied the pool for the time being, and those amenities, and so we put back with the process of the splash pad. And so the right side is kind of how it gets updated, as you guys are maybe part of that too as well, depending on your terms. But the right side is kind of how it evolves. Different consultants. So the first consultant was Wank, and the second consultants we hired, and we told them to use that one because that was part of our plan from the Parks Master Plan. Why we're doing that, we were in the planning stages. Richardson, which I think we call MVP Park, we do internally. But you'll see that park is just north of Loving Reservoir. The image on the right is the best plan I had to date. We didn't get updated renderings. We just finished. Now this plan here is all the way to CD. So in this plan, there's a lot of dollars invested in that, because it's gone all the way to CDs. And what that means is construction documents, which means if we wanted to, if that was the sentiment, or if that was the direction, if we wanted to, by the board, we could put this plan out to bid in the next month or so. So the reason I bring that up is because I'll bring up later too as well on the next slide, and this will go fairly fast, is other projects and other different levels. But this one, what you see on the right is for all intents and purposes for us, is completed through construction. It's ready to go. So the southern part, or the western part of the Loving Reservoir, and you remember, is as we use the plan, times, as we do projects, or we don't do projects in the last 5 years, people go, okay, there's some low-hanging fruit for the community. We don't want to maybe wait 3 or 4 years or 5 years. Is there some low-hanging fruit we can do? That was the term that was being used, and one of those low-hanging fruit was, could we start on the south end, and you'll know that today is the bike park. So the bike park, in terms of overall budgets and things like that ended up to be around 2.2 million. That's I mean, that's a lot of money, but still that's a low-hanging fruit and as far as a community as you see projects. So I just want to show that. I know we're going to talk about pool. Some of these slides that I have are just so if we need to reference anything. I know we're talking about some updated concepts we have for the pool. Just attached to our rec center, but this is kind of the color version. The left side is how we started out. And we can go back to these. I can talk further into them. I just want to get through them because I don't want to be repetitive for you all if you want to get to the other stuff. But again, it's kind of a community pool, regional aspect to it. But you'll see, we ended up with 3 different bodies of water. Kids playground, another lazy river. There's offices here. The offices would be year round. We are a little tight at our current rec center for staff offices. There is slides here, concessions, and I believe 2 community event spaces rentable, as well as some different other amenities. And this is again this is the concept we worked through to get to that prior thing to get to the end. Knievel is our last one, low priority. Haven't touched it since probably 2018, haven't discussed it, haven't looked at it. We're well aware there's a property over there, which is obviously with other projects in front of it and replacements. But I just want to make you aware, if you're not aware of the 4 kind of the big properties that Knievel is, and kind of those amenities too. Those amenities can be changed as we work through and we build other stuff at other properties, and when we get there, and we again not duplicating things or doing something that the community wants that's maybe not addressed that could be here is one. So I want to talk a little bit about future projects. So you guys are probably aware of these as well. So some of these slides that I'm going to go through is kind of what's in my head. So forgive me. It's just I just wanted to get it out. Hopefully I don't read it word for word, but mainly it's just context. So what you'll see the color codes I talked about. So town parks in 2 phases. The first phase is done. That's what the new part you see. The second phase is because there was some talk about leaving the fields and working through that. Money at the time, we weren't sure, if we need to go through the process of how many people and how much the community wanted those fields, and we couldn't tear those down or remove those until we built others. One of the major things, but those are done. And when I say CDs, those are construction documents. So phase 2 could be done, could be bid out as well, if we had other fields to provide for our programming. Richardson Park is done. That could be bid out for construction. That could start depending on funds and financing. The green one, the Arboretum, we're at 60% through design, working towards construction documents. The hope is right now that'll be completed here by August, and the direction is to continue that, but we'll revisit that with the board and see if they want to, depending on, like I said, how the pool thing goes and other projects, and whether we need to reprioritize that. But that is budgeted to start work this fall. You'll see, additional trail sections, just, the ones completing, I didn't really want to put that in there, but we had additional ones. Those are always ongoing. Nothing's in the hoppers. A lot of conversations about Front Range Trail to the north, connection with Loveland, last couple of years. The blue ones are things that y'all worked on and talked through. They're in conceptual designs. So we take those we'd have to, do another proposal, do another consultant, and we'd start again and invest in those plans to get them through SD to DD to eventually construction documents. It's all one process. I talked a little bit about the bike park. The other one, some low-hanging fruit again, was the pickleball came up as we were renovating town park. The amount of pickleball, so we shifted gears. We had some space over at the rec center, working through kind of that current, the issues and concerns of other communities of noises and the popularity, and so we, through discussions and moved that to Wagner, because that was a camp kind of lot ready, campus ready. Low hanging fruit again, that was at a cost of 1.2 million. So I identify those numbers just because we have those in the general fund. We have $1 million here or 2 million here for a project. We've had those initially because we haven't done, in my tenure here in almost 30 years, the major of the projects didn't start till 2018. So we had some savings, we had some park money identified, so that's why it's kind of been fast and furious the last couple. I'll talk a little bit about the town needs is ball fields, and we would say, I think, you know, that it's not really, when we put out surveys or we put out floor plans, it's a need, it's a need, but it's not highly reflective as an individual need when you vote and you check boxes. It's not like the popularity of a trail, or it's not the popularity of a pool, or it's not the popularity of, you know, parks, play equipment. The rationale, I think, of what it is that people that use the ball fields go there for an hour and they go home, right? So they go to practice for an hour and they use it. So in that context or that perception, they go to the game and they go for an hour. They just see that it's available, they have time, they go home. From our perspective, as you can see, we've got 30, 28, 32 teams a year to schedule on 2 game fields. We've got other teams on those off summer times. We've got fall teams. We share with high school through their seasons. So I just want to bring that up is we would consider it a priority, and that's why you kind of see that at Richardson. You see the Clover, you see the complex, and you may wonder why we're talking about ball fields. Don't we have enough? From staff point, it would probably be 1 or 1A. But I understand too why it's not an individual selection as well, because the bigger context is, like I said, we have two downtown that can still host some games, I believe, and mostly programming, but that's a age limit of probably 8 years and under, just because of the homes and the distances and the small fields and things like that. Those are T-balls, I believe, and coach pitch and things like that. So we have one other property field for practice, school property, Ivy Stockwell, and then just making the note that a longtime Berthoud Elementary one that we use a lot. We'll lose that this year and maybe in the future. They've got some construction plans to build a road through there, kind of through the outfield and things of that. So we'll see if we can use that after they're done and what those distances are. And then also, as you guys know, they've come before you a little bit, I believe, is the Newell Farm and recent requests to add to our project list. So basically, kind of what you're all dealing with as we go through and prioritizing things. So this is kind of this is just as we get into, you know, the outdoor pool and at the rec center and aquatics amenities in general. And this is kind of what I just want to say is pull back just a little bit and say, because it's really neat to get into just the pool and focus on the pool and focus that it's great attachment. And what are my role and how do I decide and what are the things I want or what are the things communities want as a board committee member and so staff. I just thought there's just pull back a little bit so we get kind of the bigger picture, a little more context. So, you know, why are we doing it? You know, why are we doing the addition? What would check the most boxes? Are we looking to replace an outdoor pool experience? Additional lap lanes, lap lanes year rounds come up. People talk a lot about swim meets. We need something for swim meets, more aquatics amenities, more swim programming. So the initial direction was from the board was to replace the outdoor pool, the previous one. So our first design, our first go at it to bring that back was, generally speaking, what the town, basically an improvement in size and water surface a little bit, and what the outdoor pool, looked like. We at the time it was may possibly considered at, you know, 5 or 6 million, another low hanging fruit, getting a little higher for low hanging fruits, but the thought process there was, you know, the swim meets, it was covered. We do, you know, back when I did the seasonal pool, you know, 3 swim meets from CARE was the max. Usually did about 1, maybe 2 a year. They spread around those things. So that would suffice for that. We would do a larger indoor area for the swim team practice and the programming. But then there's also some discussion, I've heard some stuff that maybe the high school wanted to use it and the practices. So building our initial design of just replacing of the initial direction of replacing the outdoor pool, it's not going to check the box. I wanted to get that out. It's not going to check the box for high school swimming, and it's not. And then also, it's been brought to everyone's attention to year-round lap swimming. So that's obviously not going to check that box either. So as we work through this, then we researched a little bit more. There's 5 existing lap lane pools in neighborhoods. There's 3 more either planned or being constructed in Berthoud right now. The reason to take that into consideration is that maybe it's not for us. We go, okay, maybe it's not. One, it's HOAs, right? So it's limited to who can go in there. We get that. And one, maybe we're not seeing the demand of lap swimming during the summer, maybe because maybe people are outside in lakes, maybe people are outside doing other things, or they're in their HOA home pools, and not every HOA, not every subdivision has a pool. So the only reason I put that up is not to counteract why we don't need lap pools, but to say, for us to say, okay, maybe we're not seeing a lot of lap swimmers in us because they have the other pools, so when those close down, now we should be seeing the frequency of lap swimming during the winter at our rec center. And so we need to maybe pay attention to that more closely during the winter when people come indoors, and maybe we're the only pool in town to do that. Then the indoor pool came up as we were doing this. Again, the direction was to the outdoor pool. So as we work through this and it comes up to enclose it or research to possibly close it, then we start to go back and say, identify, hey, what were the purposes, Is it the lap swimming again, the programming, the swim meets or the swim team or the classes and things like that. So what we don't want to do is, and there's a lot of examples, and they're good examples of enclosing just a 6 or 8 lane lap pool and not looking or researching or looking at like how much deck space do you need to enclose those people, to have people, the amount of people you want, the certain amount of times you have them. So in order to do that, and I'll show you a picture of what that means. So question kind of rhetorically, as I work through this, are we looking at more of an auditorium level of deal in your head? And as you guys think through this, are we thinking that becomes more of a competition pool as we enclose it? And so anyway, I'll work through that as well as you guys do this. So the next one is more stuff from my head. It's just, what are the pros, right? And you guys have gone through this. Outside amenity for the public, it's another pool. It potentially is more swim meets, more practices, more programming, and added lap lanes from the 3 we have. So these are the things that I talk about when I talk about pullback, that I really want to just for consideration is all, and for you guys to kind of, what is the lap lane number as you guys work through this? What is your ideal lap lane numbers? Are you thinking is it an outdoor pool? Is it an indoor pool at the rec center? Or as you see the bigger projects, and you incorporate maybe Richardson as we go back, what is it a competition pool as we work through this? Is it outdoor only replacement? Is it the location? People talk about, well, the visual from the road. Maybe there's non-swimmer to men. We consider, hey, the visual, the farm look, and if we start adding on, compartments and buildings, is that going to have the same effect? Because it's such a gorgeous building. Those things we take into consideration, just like someone saying we need, deeper water, or we need 2, 3 diving boards. The current building look and feel comes up a lot. Then next is the landlocked available property if you do the additional and what we do. Just consideration of it. Because as growth occurs, right, and that's why we're kind of considering the pool as well, and providing another outdoor experience pool, we get that as well. We need to expand the workout spaces, or people will be asking for conference space, event space, gym space. And if we do that, and like I said, The rec center right now, um, they office out of the conference room, so they've taken out the small conference room. So they're tight with office space right now. The party room is very popular. So the requests have been to, do more of that, do more community space. Um, so that's being used a lot. We're obviously gonna be talking about additional pools, so there's that. So the thing to consider is once this is built, that there's no more land to build facilities or additions to that rec center, or no more amenities for that. Um, and so if we need those spaces, or there is rentable event space or conference area, it feels like it could be, we could think about that. Also, there's been previous community requests for seniors or teens, community spaces, library support, event space within a wellness center, things like that. Those things tie in as well with aquatics as well at the rec center. So just a consideration of, it's kind of the last piece of the land and what's the best choices for that. If that ends up being a pool, then that's great. Also parking. Every amenity that we have out there is adds additional stress to the current load we have. The current recreation center parking lot was built for the recreation center. Where it's designed and built for the recreation center. The temporary was for future overload. The temporary parking to the south. The skate park came in the middle of the build, so there's some activity for that. The pickleball was not included in that. The pickleball came later, so there's added traffic for that. And then now the plan is to build that, to design, we're working on the arboretum. So what that, I just want to kind of give you more context with that. What we think about is parking lots and providing spaces where, people don't park on Bertha Parkway or Bunyan. So this just details, the needs we have. The red is what we have now in the parking lot count. And right now, I think it's sufficient for the membership. It does get busy on game days and practice nights and things like that, and that's okay right now. But I'm just letting you know that just the temporary 74 and 54, and just context of cars and as pickleball popularity increases. The 61 is a planned one when the Arboretum comes on board. You see that little box there, that's 61. Now you'll see the proximity to the proposed area of the additional south to the rec, so that could be used as well for public. That could be used up fairly quickly for the Arboretum as well. The 40 you see is kind of planned, and the reason I drew a kind of an L Tetris shaped around that little property is we're in the works of acquiring that from the school district, and then planning that passively with the Arboretum. And so it's not approved yet, but it's in the conceptual to do a kind of a, the 30 to 40 back there to take some strain off of us. Maybe pickleball players will use it. Possibly we'd have to get a road through there from Lake Street. And so obviously the neighborhood we'd have to have several meetings. So it's not a done deal, it's just conceptually. But my point is that with putting each amenity, pickleball, the skate park, the Arboretum, now the pool, it becomes, do we want to continue to build parking lots, right? And how much do we want to put in this space? So that's our site plan. You guys know that. The area we're talking about is just south there. So I'll talk about the existing pool. If you remember, 6 lanes, 144,000 gallons. We can come back to this. Just want to give you some square feet of water so you can compare it to what the consumption you're about to see. And just kind of the area with concrete, and then the overall area with all the fence and the shade and the fenced area as well. Just for we can go back to that. So we went out. You guys did a great job. We went out on a report survey this year, and this just shows some of the the questions and the process. Finding out what's important to people, what's the use to people. As you'll see, I just picked a couple pages, but also, aquatics, New Aquatics was up there. Trails is always up there, it's very popular, it's awesome. I think, some other stuff, natural areas and things like that, we're all on top of that, which is great. But just, you guys get this, if you wanna reference it, some of the stuff comes up and gets ranked, and, I think you guys had we had about 840, submit back. We got a lot of good feedback from that. Survey from online was good as well. We got almost 760. Again, we use this, a piece of this is for feedback as well. What comes back is, what we got from here was just trying to check a lot of boxes, shade was high up there. Trying to build something, for everyone. Came back, the last survey question, and kind of want to take a little bit, is we asked, what outdoor pool in their area that they go to that currently meets the needs and would be a good example for us. And to be honest, it kind of threw me, that's where kind of the confusion, and maybe, what came back in the top three were these three. And so then it dawned on me kind of like, hey, are we asking the right questions? Are we getting enough information out? Because what came back is not so much of replacing the outdoor town pool. What came back on the shoulders, as you see in Sunset and Rain Decks, is not the concept we brought and worked through. It's more of it's got a lot of slides to it, it's got a bigger area, it's got more deck space, it's got shade, it's got all the structures in it, the rain dance, and a bigger build and a bigger ask. And so what I didn't want to do, or what we didn't want to do, is confuse the public as to what they were getting, because if they're identifying Rain Dance or Sunset, now the one in the middle does reflect closest to what we're doing, but I just, like I said, those are the ones that came to the top, and some here and there, one, two, but the ones they're doing is certainly in Brighton. That was a bigger one, so it caused just some pause to if we were letting people know exactly what they were getting, and as far as replacement. So you guys went through it, your comments below, and we're getting to the options. So this is kind of the first go. I did want to provide answers, and again, this slide is if we need to reference back to it as we get through this conference. You guys certainly probably remember them. One of the main things as we work through concepts is any concept, and I put concepts not as options to vote on or to do, because we're a little bit confused a little bit. When we work through this, going to the port, then going through the board and taking everything in consideration, there's a lot of, ideas that came, and good ideas, and the project and the pool started to go, and some things don't go together, and some things, if they do go together, become bigger and need their own space. So I just wanted to kind of bring this back to you and work through it. So one of them is anything we do south of the rec center will need a bathroom facility. So whatever we talk through and whatever our ideas are, we'll need a bathroom facility, okay? So if we do outdoor only, bathroom facility. If we do a combination of indoor, outdoor, bathroom facility, indoor. So what that means is that kind of takes out the question of, hey, can we build a pool and then down the road and close it? There's a lot of challenges with that, because if you got a bathroom facility, to try to go back and design and construct and get that enclosed, it's more cost effective to do it now, because you got different bodies of water. The planning is now to say, okay, if you do have an auditorium type and you want year round, then that bathroom's gonna have to be available. But then if you also have an outdoor pool, you can winterize that bathroom. And so then they're both gonna have uses if you decide that, hey, we need to have both at this area. So to close it later, the big challenge is where to put that bathroom when you enclose the rest of the pool, right? Because then it becomes two different buildings. All right. So there's you got a couple here, the request that's just for you all, separate kiddie pool. There's money there. The cost estimate between the 8 and the 6, the additional cost to go from 6 to an 8 is there. We did confirm that, for us, that the standard is 25 yard. So we did confirm that. And then the depth requirements, and we had those same questions, so we appreciate that feedback. That's great, you guys are dialed into that. The concept keeps changing, but we're asking them daily about those too, and we're listening to you all. So that's just letting you know that we'll continue working, and you guys continue to have your eye on it too. So then one of the deals was to say, okay, hey, we're gonna enclose it. And so I kind of alluded to it earlier, is the picture on the left is a berthed swim meet at Mountain View. That's 8 lanes. You guys are familiar with that. I think to the right, correct me if I'm wrong, there's bleacher seating, there's concrete that goes up, the bleacher seating to the right. And I believe there's a gym connected. And the reason I point this out is the amount of space needed for swim meets. Maybe this is, maybe this is regional, but this was a berthed one that they go to. And so it just gives a picture context, is all I'm saying, is a picture context of when we talk about enclosures, if we're gonna do an enclosure and we want to check those boxes for hosting those meets, we don't wanna just focus on the water, we wanna focus on also the needs of a meet. So, because we don't want people standing outside, or not parents or grandparents or brothers and sisters and families not being able to be in there, and the proper, staff and things like that. So staging areas and all that. Then on the right is kind of what I thought when I said there's good examples of people building pools. But when you build this pool, you see the difference. There's not a lot of deck space. This would just be a practice one. This is 6 lanes. You see the bleachers a little bit, but we're not gonna get timers in there. We're not gonna get, fans in there as much. You see the difference. And that's all I'm trying to point out is if we enclose it and the purpose is 8 lanes and the purpose is, for swim meets and those types of things, then that's why you'll see the extra more deck space and things like that. So as we build for our growth too. The enclosures, in response to that, we haven't got pricing yet. They're still working on it. I tried to find Colorado retractable, roofs, open walls. I can't find a commercial one. I can't find a municipal one. There's probably some out there. Our pool contractor consultant said there are. He didn't say they were specific to Colorado. The ones on top, the 2 from left to right are from California. The other one's from Arkansas, obviously warmer weather. The below one came from BRS, our current architect that's working on this project, that he gave this example as something he would price out. He gave a general number of, once the building's built, this would probably be an additional 400,000 around in there if you wanted to retract the roof and people wanted to open the walls. So the concept. So this is, as we work through the updates now, and we're almost done, so thank you for your patience. So this is our initial, we expanded a little bit on the concept A. And the reason the concepts you'll see, this was the initial one. Like you'll see, 6,000 square foot pool. The yellow dots are some shade. As you'll see, this was designed, initially conceptually from our water tech guy, Doug. So you'll see the bathroom, lawn seating space, the existing slide. So this is your outdoor pool that is a little bit larger in water surface. There's zero entry that's been, kind of given input to. So this is the concept A. Concept B is both of them, and this is to the space. Now you see how that eats up the space, right? So the enclosed one where it says natatorium edition, that's enclosed. It does not have an open roof, and it does not have movable walls. And now if that's something we get to, and you guys, if that's something warranted, then we would use the time and money to research that and come back with a deal. But that's enclosed for year round. That checks some of those boxes, that some of those slides that I talked about. That talks about your year round stuff, your indoor. Now that's a 6 lane because they're concepts. The next one will be 8. Okay, so that's 6 lane, enough deck space to do the thing, spectator seating. You'll see the bathrooms and why I went through the winterization, and if that's open all year, we'll need access to that, because we won't winterize it. That'll be used, because the amount of people, because in the current rec center, we're at code, and anything we add to the building, as far as people coming in, we need to provide those bathrooms. So you'll see that's a dual use, and how that kind of conceptually works. This is a slightly smaller pool because, than the first option, just because of the space. And you see that eats up the entire space and how that looks, and works. The last one is just the indoor. It's just, that one's 8. So you kind of see conceptually how that fits in the space. Year round, checks all those boxes, but goes to 8. A couple diving boards in there. We've swung the restrooms around to the west side, and this is all purely conceptual. About 10% into conceptual. Spectator seating on the south end. The reason they're not on the south, the bathrooms and guard support rooms and things like that, or the east. Obviously, there's a walkway there. We've had to expand it because the 8 lanes makes it expand both ways. And then the connection to the building, to the original building, the current building. So the bathrooms are on the west side of this picture because instead of the south, and if we ever want to connect to it, there's a southern exposure for windows. If we ever want to connect again, if we choose this and say, okay, this is good, and we ever want to use that space for our expansion as well, and possibly if you wanted to, see what Richardson's doing. These are all 3, just so we don't have to keep flipping back 3 different slides. So these 3 in a row. The prices came in today. These are, generally speaking, from contractor, kind of how the temperature is in the building world, and consultants, they've come back. So concept A is 6.8 million. And then B together is around 18 million. And the other, the indoor, just the more competition auditoriums is 12.2. And so with that is, in the news, there's tariffs and things like that. They say 5% for tariffs. They are hearing conflicting information back on that, so they just said hang on to that. But 6% annual escalation. So these, not prices, obviously they'll bid them out and stuff, but this is kind of an experienced estimation from price estimators through construction company, as well as BRS's lengthy history of building pools right now. So they feel that you wouldn't, if we, like I said, if we did this today, a year out would be our next 6%, if that makes sense. So these are current, as we talk about this. And then I just provided some pictures of the Richardson in case you hadn't seen them, but just for context and whatever. So a little bit of rambling, apologize. So I don't know if you have questions or if you just want me to stop talking.
Well, number one, the comment about when people gave examples of pools, my issue with that is that's because that's what's out there.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't have submitted a pool like the Old Town pool as an option because I don't know where one is that we would go to. You know what I mean? So like I get what you're saying, that that's not matching what you're putting here, but that question is kind of tricky because that doesn't exist.
Right.
And the old pool worked for Berthoud because, partly because it was all we had, but like it fulfilled the needs, and if people wanted more or fancier, we would go to Loveland once a summer to go to Winona or whatever. So I just wanted to make that comment. And then as far as exploring like an indoor competition pool, I guess I would just strongly suggest the district because from the conversations I've had, even if the town 100% paid for it and built it, I don't know that the district would use it. Just because they have their own pools. So why on earth would they spend money to lease a pool here when they're already maintaining and using their own pools? And I think, given the general sentiment around the district's use of money and the fact that they couldn't pass a bond and whatnot, like I think taxpayers also might take issue with that, and outside of the schools using it, I know the Cara could use it, and that does go year round, I think. They do competitions in letter, right? We just, so I do just wonder if that investment, as far, like having lap lanes, great, but like something that can host competitions and being concerned with bleachers and seating and like, I would just be very cautious about whether or not that we're gonna need that or that investment.
Yep. Good.
B, just the outdoor portion, like basically a revamp on A. I don't see an option there where it's just a different concept of just an outdoor pool. Does that make sense? Like,
No.
there's this natatorium deal, which is kind of new, but do you have an example of like feedback from Port on an improved version of A?
That's
Just the outdoor pool, because
yep,
I'm
that-
not seeing
that'd
that.
be the next step.
You had a slide that showed 8 lanes and this 0 entry
Which one?
gone in a kiddie pool. I think what she's asking is, what's the price tag for that?
It was
my
just the
slide
square,
on
yeah, it was just the
presentation
square,
tonight.
and the top was,
Say that again?
it was just the square pool, and it had the lanes on one end and then the shallow end on the other.
Yeah, that one.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the one you all drew.
so that's what I'm missing as like seeing as an option is like a new version of just an outdoor pool. Like you have an outdoor indoor concept, you have an indoor concept, but I'm not seeing like an outdoor that Port had discussed previously.
Right.
So I would be interested in seeing what that could look like.
And that's great too.
Like like option C, but with that, but outdoors or something like that, you
Right.
know?
So, and help me and interject if I'm not. So tonight was, the reason it's in concepts and not options to vote or choose is that exactly. So if you're looking at if the Port's desire, not staff's desire, the concepts we put together were to show just outdoor only. And then there was discussion from other people or Port or whomever about enclosing it, and then also doing an outdoor. So that's why you see B, and then you see just the indoor. So you get context of space and thought. Now, to answer your question, I hope I'm doing it, is if the Port's decision or recommendation is to say we want to pursue outdoor, that's the direction we need. Well, and ultimately, the board's gonna decide what they wanna do or what's best, what taking all the consideration, they're gonna make the decision. But if, I lost my train of thought. The point is if you're saying as a group, that you're saying we just want concept A and we wanna start working on, that other place or whatever, these were just to show you the property, the context, and the pricing and to work through that. And so if you want just an outside pool, we would have further meetings, further discussions to work through that. Kind of what we feel like how we got confused is we show the outside, we started kind of working through that. And then as we had meetings and we had other input and we had deals, it grew to more slides and more diving boards and the money increased. So we had to back up and come back and say, hey, we're out of that. Like I said, the low hanging fruit, we're out of that $5 or $6 million thing that we've been showing and presenting. And we just didn't want to lie to anybody. We didn't want to show anybody or produce something that we didn't say was the money. Was what we were saying. So as you'll see, the additional signs and additional amenities are not there, right? But that's all the soft costs, all the professional fees, to do option A. And so that's why they're in conceptual, is because there's outdoor only, outdoor, indoor, and outdoor. Now, yeah, if you say, hey, the board would like to pursue or recommend that we just have staff or as a board and tell the board, we just want to pursue outdoor, we would continue what you're saying. Just go back and say, okay,
I believe what is missing is that, the other slide, that it was a version of A, but with the 8 lanes and a kiddie pool was kind of the culmination of a previous discussion with this committee. And if I understood correctly, because I watched the video of the board, they fell on those same 2 issues. It's like 8, correct me if I'm wrong, Carl, but what would it take to make it 8 lanes and have a separate kiddie pool? So it didn't just come out of nowhere. I mean, it seems like there is some consistency in terms of our discussions, and another consistency is everybody acknowledging, this committee and the board, that it's not gonna be everything to everybody.
Yes.
And I think that's your point, right?
we want it to be as much as we can to everybody,
Right.
not
That might be
not
the
everything.
detriment of this project too.
Right.
Like, I think that was the caution, is like, who is this for? And we maybe can't please everybody, and maybe we shouldn't please everybody, or
Okay.
at least that should be a topic of conversation.
But I do
Maybe the goal should not to be to check 20 boxes, maybe the goal should be to check 7 really well.
But I
type
mean,
thing.
too, I guess I can understand why you guys went this route, because there was significant discussion at our last meeting about making it indoors, or could it be year round, or could it, like, that definitely did come, can it host competitions? Like, all those things definitely came up, so I can see why.
These aren't permanent, these are for you guys to discuss in your group. There's nothing here that we're doing or pursuing. These are to say, hey, I'm confused, the meetings I've been in, the feedback I'm getting, and so I just want to present concepts, and also show you the price tags on it, and show you that there is a design for an outdoor pool to the north as well. That's, got a lot of,
The outdoor pool to the north is at Richardson Park.
yeah,
But that's the whole motivation for us doing the survey and all of these conversations that we've had is that Richardson Park's pool is pushed out a decade or more. And so the conversation around that was, because Richardson Park pool was in the 3rd phase, it would be 10 to 12 years from now. And it's interesting, because when you showed the 2018 master plan and you show the rec center, there's actually a spot for outdoor aquatics in the rec center, in that design, before it was built.
Yeah. And the initial concept,
right.
yep.
Which may be where people got confused, that they thought when Town Park Pool was leaving that we were getting this other outdoor space. I think the biggest thing I've taken away from all of this is an outdoor pool.
Yeah.
Yes, there are 6 communities that have a pool in their neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's not accessible to probably, 70% of the population, maybe more?
Yeah.
So,
I don't know, yeah.
I mean,
It's not like it's like a 3-lane pool.
Yeah,
It's like
they're
3
not-
feet.
they're not
I mean,
it's not like-
outside
it's
the
sport
subdivisions,
pool.
right,
It's
no,
not as-
TPC has their pool and then Vantage has, I mean, there are different designs and different things out there, but I think the biggest motivator all along this has been getting an outdoor pool in our community that's accessible to the entire town. And yes, all of these other pieces have played into it in terms of design and wanting the lanes and wanting, being able to recreate in different ways in that pool. But I think that when it comes down to it, if we're talking price tag and you're saying, we've got these other projects that are cooking, and getting the outdoor pool in a way that would be sufficient for the town is probably the most important. So trying to split it out and say, well, we'll do this little smaller pool and then we'll do the indoor pool, we're gonna start getting into what happened in the rec center, where we ended up with a small pool that can't do the things that the town maybe needs. Or that we've outgrown.
Good point.
Just a financial question. And I probably can't be summed up really quickly, but, huge range of prices here from 6.8 to 18 million. How does that impact everything else the town is doing? And I mean, that to me is a huge concern. I personally would much rather see land acquisition and open space preservation than 18 million spent on a pool like this. So that, just from where I'm coming from,
And
how
that's
does this play?
Yeah, in a nutshell, that's why I prefaced it. I know it's kind of boring in the beginning. Not not to say that, just the projects we got going on the rec side, just to show a little bit about that. Also to show, that exact thing, that we have been discussing this location, have been discussing that. That's why I wanted to back up a little bit and provide maybe some alternatives or alternative discussion as we go through this to say, okay, we've got these concepts, we've got numbers to them, and you see the numbers. How are we gonna provide for that? And also, do we wanna invest the dollars there, knowing the site maybe challenges as we move forward, or future challenges, or knowing our growth, and you guys understand it? And if the answer is all yes, we wanna pursue these, that's great, and we'll work through that. But then, we showing the parks plan of Richardson and the outdoor pool there, and that can be, scaled how, we can make a couple adjustments there as well. That comes with a bigger, and I agree with you, that was in phase 3, and that's what drove maybe this low hanging fruit discussion. To get back to your question is, whatever we decide tonight, the board's gonna make a decision how they fund it, or how they pay for it, or how we prioritize. They're gonna ask us.
I guess I'm asking you as a staffer though, your gut feeling on what do you lose if you go from 6.8 to 18 million? Because that's a big,
In my
that's a huge amount
opinion,
of land
and Chris
potentially.
knows the overall budget better than I do, but in my opinion, that we had budget money to do a concept A around 5.5 and 6 million, and then we got the Arboretum that's budgeted at probably 7, and then that was kind of gonna be it. The Richardson is, when I say it, as far as general fund expenditures. We do have the 1% sales tax that goes to rec, which no other community that I'm aware of yet. Pretty cool deal for Berthoud.
Heck yeah.
It's not property tax initiative, it's not a burden on homeowners, it's people that buy it, shop in town, and I think that's absolutely amazing.
I agree.
So you get a percent. Now that does fund our O&R, O&M for rec center a little bit, but that's doing really good in the last 5 years because of our current climate, and as you guys know, what's going on in the world and things like, but we're doing pretty good with that. So the 12 and the 18 would have to be a funding source of, the board or Chris would figure it out, whether that be bonds or whatever. That wouldn't come from a general fund, or we don't have that ready to go. That would be another funding initiative.
Okay, that's hugely
And it would
helpful.
be several, or it would be years of, planning and safety, basically. Like, if we wanted it soon, we'd have, those
I think it's a
B or
higher
C,
number
you'd
than,
have to get a loan, you'd have to borrow money.
right. I think it would be, if the recommendation or as you guys talk through it, and that's why I wanted to see all of it. I know I keep harping on that, but the location, what you get, or the in, the out, the big picture, not down to the slides and things like that. If you pick a concept, we're gonna continue to work towards that. It'll work through whatever. But I guess we're not committing, but confirming location, confirming concept. So we have some direction and what the investment's gonna be too. And so we know, like you said, can we still afford this in the general fund at 7 million? Probably so, or 9 million.
Yeah.
That gets a little bit of, the Arboretum may get paused a little bit, but it's not something won't get done. It may get out further, or it's gonna have to trigger a funding mechanism. And I don't know what that is, what that would be. That would be the board's decision. And that's not for you all to worry about, which is great. You guys decide kind of in your group what makes sense to you. And I don't mean to offend by saying we've already talked about this. That's great. If we haven't, then this is a quicker meeting. You can say, hey, we like this, and we want to stay here, and we want you to bring, that's our recommendation, or that's our, what we want to take to the board. And ultimately, they may decide, B, I don't know. But I just wanted to let you know that the Richardson, 10 to 12 years is not accurate. I would say, so this, again, since we've kind of been working through this, and we had to push pause on this a little bit, this wouldn't open, any location here, wouldn't open until 2027. So just so you know, because it's where we're at in design and construction is like 10 or 11 months, it wouldn't open until, just so you guys know. So that's 2 years out. I mean, Richardson could start going again. The problem with that is that that's a big ticket item, and you're right, probably both of you know, well, all you know, that was the pool's in phase 3, so we can't really extract the pool and just do the pool as much as we like to, because it is in phase 3 because of the way the property is. And there's a lot of money in doing the infrastructure that we won't see. And that stinks because, the slope of the ground, where it's at, it's just, there's a lot of utilities and sewer lines and water lines underneath that. And we put a lot of money in that ground. So that's why the higher price tag. But it does fit the ball fields. It's not because the phases weren't done. I just want, you guys probably, the phases weren't done because we liked one amenity over the other. The phases were done as we worked through the construction of the project. So that would, if the pool said, hey, we have ability to do a regional pool and we didn't know that was on the plate, that could be done, but it would take a funding mechanism. It would take the board to say, yeah, that's been projected around 75 million for the whole thing. And that's, we're building turn lanes into Bertha Parkway, larger parking areas. So since we have dollars invested and the design's done for CDs, that could be a quicker process. And that if they decided to put funds to that, I don't know if they will, because that is a big price tag. You don't have to go through the design process. You don't have to spend a year and a half. You could conceivably, maybe that could be built within 4 years.
The pool at Richardson,
The entire property.
we were told 10 to 12.
Well, I think if it's phased, if they get funding for everything at once.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
It could be done quicker. However, that's 4 times the amount of the COP we took out for the rec center, so
Right.
that would be
That
I
feels like
don't
a
think
big
the board would go for
And you're at
$10
about
million
15
COP.
years left on that, and that's going really well. That sales tax is paying that marker down.
So,
Well, you guys go ahead first. You guys haven't really talked, so go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna kind of go a little off topic. So if you have something to, go with his, then you go ahead.
Did you have something? 'Cause- Did you have your hand up?
No, I thought I heard that you said 10 to 12 wasn't accurate, but I wasn't hearing what was the accurate, but you're saying 3 to 4 if all the funding at once, still 10 to 12 if they phase it for the pool
No, because we've made some improvements, maybe I don't know when that came out. It's mainly, it's been shelved because of the numbers we got back, just like this. And there was no funding source to do, and there was other projects, and there's other communications and other discussions. Now, as we get these numbers back, and we're talking 18 and 12 million, and the concept A is creeping up to 8 or 9, that may be an opportunity to say, okay, do we want to do a bigger funding deal, or take on some debt to do a more complete project that's ready to go? That's what the opportunity possibly could be.
So I think that I'm missing something. So just, if I can say that back, what I think I heard is you're saying, do we really want to say at the low end 6.8 million, or do we want to say like, maybe we've got something that already has the CDs at Richardson Farm Park, do we maybe want to move that along, push that further, and then shelve this because this is no longer a pet project? Is that what I'm,
Not a pet project.
not a
it's
pet
just,
project?
do you
but
want to, so
Is that
let
what
me
I'm
put this
hearing,
back.
right?
If we choose this location, it goes back to my original slide, that land and those amenities are gone, right? You built a pool, we built an outdoor pool. There wouldn't be a reason to build the phase 3 of Richardson at any point, because you got quite an extensive, aquatics, indoor and outdoor at that point. Indoor being current and outdoor is what you did. We wouldn't start to pursue, we might do in a couple of years or down the road if the ask was for ball fields to say, hey, we might start phase 1, but we'd still have to ask for a funding mechanism. What I'm saying is the big picture. What do you all feel and think? If you feel like, hey, we want a pool and get going in 2027, and we're looking at an outdoor pool, that's the direction. I'm looking for like direction a little bit, so I can take to the board. This is,
So, just.
trying to vet some of that stuff, sorry to
So
interrupt you.
kind of like right on this topic, one bit of context for you maybe, and if you guys recall, at Richardson, we've reviewed those designs quite a bit, and one of our biggest topics of discussion was that swimming pool. And that's also kind of how some of this all got started,
right.
because we were
Right.
like, okay, we
Yep.
don't want this, we want
Yep.
exactly what we're talking about, some sort of
Okay.
a 6, 8 lane, whatever, pool.
Okay.
Right, so my question is like, you mentioned that Richardson designs are done.
Yeah.
My question is if they're done, then we are assuming that there's going to be some sort of a pool there. Is there an opportunity to take parts of that, combine it with what we're doing right now, or this design, and have something different there that's not a pool at all at Richardson? Is there an opportunity to combine those two elements in what we're doing here too?
There is, and that's, yeah, you're speaking, and that's what the concepts are. So there is, and so you get a basic for 6.8. Now, if you want more slides, they have a number to that, and you see the launch seat feature more slide, that'd be amenity to that at Richardson. If you want more slides, that would go there, but that's not in the 6.8, that'd be an alternative add. If you wanted spray features or a playground and it fit in that one from the top, that's an alternative add. If you wanted more pavilions or shade, we wouldn't do any sort of lazy river, you have that. Lap lanes, you're gonna get the outdoor lap lanes. We had a, playground in a kind of a, an 18-inch kind of water, not anything deep, the place sets to sit in the water, you can stand in there, doesn't need lifeguard. Maybe you could do a small one, but that's an alternate. So you could do alternate adds, it would just increase that number.
Okay, I
I
guess
think-
maybe my question is how set are the Richardson plans right now? Because even if the decision is that just the basic pool is enough, like, is there even a need to make this, leisure pool area in Richardson at all, or could that space be used for something different? I guess that's my
I thought we
question.
were going to something different to save on the money, on the utilities, we
Yeah.
have all
Yes.
the infrastructures there at the rec center. I thought the whole, maybe I'm confused, but I thought we had moved to this, a big reason we moved to this was because we had the infrastructure there, we had water, we had electric, we had everything there.
So
Instead of these
what
big
is,
runs of
so
new-
like,
So I thought the
is-
point was take that, eliminate
was
the
like
pool.
get rid of it,
Richardson.
but I'm hearing that
and then-
Richardson, what you're saying is, I'm hearing is that
I might be
the
confused.
design plans are final and this is what it's gonna be. So having some clarity on, or a new design that doesn't include this would be helpful to know what the like overall plans are for the aquatics in Berthoud.
Well, I wanna make the point that there is substantial money invested in design. When it gets to CD, there's substantial engineers, there's substantial, it's basically set up to build. So to change that would be, it depends on what it is. To change, to take it somewhere else, yes. To take it to a different location, to move phase 1, that's not going to happen. That's extremely expensive. It would basically be a redesign. Now, if you wanna,
But is it possible to do a redesign if the needs of the community have been met by this other pool project that we're talking about?
and
Is it possible to do a redesign if this is no longer of need to the community?
yeah,
Even
Yeah,
though it
we
might
could
cost
just-
more money?
you would just reinvest into a design of, I mean, I wouldn't say it wouldn't be a pool thing, but I don't see paying for back-to-back projects in the pool, but maybe, yeah. Or are you asking if you would consider it to be another aquatics deal and you just wanna
No,
change it?
I'm saying if whatever the design is at Wagner Farm Park,
Yeah,
if it's deemed that the needs of the community are met for aquatics
Yeah.
after that,
yeah, I get what you're saying.
can there be a redesign on Richardson to
Yeah, it would
put
just be
something
taken-
else other than a pool
It
there,
would just be taken
whatever
out,
that
yeah,
is?
and we would, yep.
I understood that as our goal. That's what I thought.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I guess maybe I didn't,
didn't think, like, I thought we were.
so, yeah.
No, I might be
Yeah,
confused too.
Like putting a simple pool in now and then 10 or 15 years down the road when we realistically had the money, this other big thing would happen and by then the town would grow and the needs would be more.
Because I think it would be helpful to visualize what Richardson would look like then to like an alt version. Just to have the whole picture, like we're talking about, like what's the end game here? Is it to have this little thing? It just sounds like we're not all on the same page on right now, or maybe
Yeah.
there's.
I think that I thought that we were not looking for more. At the end of the last meeting, I thought we were not looking for more. I thought we ended the last meeting looking for less. I thought we ended the last meeting saying what would it cost if you took the little thing out and the little thing out, and we just made a rectangle pool with not a zero entry that essentially would give us back what we lost when we lost, the city park, the pool that we had.
That was
Town
addressed.
park?
Yep, absolutely.
I thought we were looking for something less fancy, not with more slides, not with more stuff. Just a rectangle pool that we could use that would fill the lap lanes, and then this would stand, but this was 10 to 12 years away.
Yeah.
That doesn't have the lap lanes and stuff that we are losing when we lost Town Park Pool.
Yep.
That's what I thought, that's where I thought we were
Yeah.
going.
Can I say something? I think there's, I'm not gonna be critical of the decision that was made when the town pool was taken out, because obviously it was not very functional, but what was not duplicated or replaced, in my mind, are three things. It's community, culture, and sport. And somebody on the board said, an outdoor swimming pool in a community is the town's living room. I grew up in different swimming pools and teaching and swimming competitively all over the West, Wyoming and North Dakota and Montana. They didn't care it was only 3 months of a year. It's what happened culturally is you went to the swimming pool in the summer to be outside and go swimming. And that's been lost. It's a culture. And the third thing, and I definitely have more skin in the game on this one, is not recognizing swimming as a sport. Like putting all this money into a leisure play park is great, but it's not promoting, the town and the district promote kids and adults learning football technique and soccer technique and baseball as sports. But the swimming as a sport kind of got thrown out for budget when decisions were made on Wagner, because I can tell you, because of the people I swim with in Chilson, it's not meeting the needs of lap swimmers. And apparently, according to the swim team who practices there, it's not meeting their need either. So those three things, I think, for me, are standout needs that went away, haven't been met. They went away when the town park was destroyed. And maybe it's a niche sport. I don't know. I think it's more important than that. But I think when we talked earlier on about the vocabulary being confusing for the public, like what's leisure, what's lap lanes, what's competition. And I want to put forward something really simple, an outdoor pool in Buffalo, Wyoming, which is less than 10,000 population. It's where the whole town goes in the summer. It's the town living room. It's the biggest outdoor pool in Wyoming, I think. And their summer programming is really typical of what I've experienced around the Rocky Mountain region. They might have 2 hours in the morning for lap swimmers. They might have 2 hours the next hour or two for teaching swim lessons to kids. The whole middle of the day is just open family swim and family hangout. There might be
HOA
1 hour
pools?
dedicated to lap swimming at 5 or 6
No, I'm
p.m.
asking. So how many HOA pools in that town?
Yeah.
How many HOA pools do you think there are in that town?
Oh, in Buffalo, there's probably a few private
You think,
pools.
is there, okay,
Yeah,
I'm just
And
curious about that
HOA
piece,
I
because
can
that
tell you
takes
from
away
an-
from,
An HOA resident, Heritage Ridge, I swim every morning, but
it's packed in
it
the summer.
does, no, I'm alone.
No, Heritage is packed in the summer. That is,
For
completely
family
nuts.
swim, but for lap swimmers, it's
No.
like zero.
right.
It's not.
But a lot of folks,
it's
the living
not
room is there for a lot of
reliable
folks,
as
I guess.
Facility for lap swimmers. It's barely reliable for family swim during the day. So it's not hard to meet the needs of family swim, culture, community, and a few hours a day for lap swimming with something simple. And I feel that's where we started.
Basically, Town Park 2.0.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all we need.
And the
Yeah, I'm
leisure
for
part,
that too.
I mean,
Something
Like,
close,
Town
something
Park
close to
2.0,
A,
like,
something
it's
close
not
to A.
teaching a sport.
Maybe it's not exactly A, but.
Yes. Town Park 2.0.
I also wanted to put in a little bit of youth perspective. So I'm a freshman in high school, which means that I'm gonna be out of the town, going to college, going to a different town in like 3.5 years. And so I can't like wait for the Richardson one. Like this one has to go. And like I
Get
would
one
really
year out
like
of
to
it.
enjoy that. And also like I totally understand that like that too. And I am a swimmer, so like be nice. I like A, B, C, all of them are nice. A is just a lot cheaper. And also, if you're thinking about an indoor pool, I remember your comparison between the Mountain View pool and that deck space and the bleachers and whatever that other pool was. Just wanted to say that like I've swam at like smaller pools than that one. Like I don't know. Do you remember the YMCA in Johnstown? There were 2 bleachers. She had to bring camper chairs because there wasn't enough space. And that was just for a smaller meet. So we just held bigger meets at Mountain View and all that stuff and just smaller meets.
And that was a high school meet at Johnstown YMCA. So
Yeah, it
they have
was-
2 literally 2 bleachers.
Yes.
I mean, but that beside the point, I think,
And
Good,
just,
great perspective.
yes, if you're worried about the space on it, as long as you can get like 3 bleachers in there and just a little bit of deck space, it's fine. And I just think that this pool would be pretty important for, like me and all my friends and obviously the juniors and seniors, they're gonna be gone before it and the sophomores might be headed off to college by that time. But like all my friends and all the kids younger than me, they're definitely gonna want an outdoor pool and I think that getting it there soon would be nice because I think in the future there's no way I'm gonna be able to afford to move to Berthoud. So
Yeah, can you do something about that?
Let's do that. Staff doesn't have we don't have Don's fight. We're just, it's not, I don't want it to be a bad, you guys are working through this great. So when I hear like, hey, we're not considering any of these, these are just presented to you all. And if I made a mistake by mishearing, it was just a lot of information from everyone. And so I want to bring it back to you all to say, hey, what is it that you all want to further? Now, I don't know, I don't want to stand up here, there's going to be public comment in a little bit, I don't know how long you want to do, I just want to make sure that we don't have Dawn fight, we just, whether it's Richardson here, whatever concept, if you guys just want to reiterate what you said, awesome.
So I guess a couple of things. You talked about the space and how the rec center is landlocked.
Yeah.
And by building this pool, it would eliminate that space. My understanding all along is that this area, this part of the rec center was plumbed for having an outdoor pool in the future. So,
Yep.
I mean, that, if we were to put a community room over that, that would be a huge waste of that money and the funding that was put into plumbing that for a pool.
It was minimal, I mean, it's just pipes,
Well,
but it was for forethought, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but there is that, yeah.
I guess my understanding and what I thought we had come away with this outdoor pool and kind of going to this concept was that this was something that we could do relatively quickly in the land of development. And we could get this there so that there was something, but again, like Carolyn was saying, having the pool in the plan for Richardson Park, because 10 to 12 years from now, as we know what the growth is in this town and what's happening, our population will increase significantly. And having that as part of that 10-year, 12-year plan, I think is a good option. And if we do get down the road,
Great point, yeah. It's still gonna be 10 or 12, yeah,
yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
absolutely.
And so, I think the biggest motivator, I think, was the outdoor pool piece. The indoor pool is it would be fabulous to have that indoor pool, but I feel like in order to scratch the itch of what I was looking for, and I think what the town is looking for is to do the outdoor pool.
Great comment.
Yeah, I'm in favor of something close to A. And I think I explained it already, but I would like to see that $12 million spent elsewhere, personally.
What was the last sentence?
I would like to see the $12 million, the delta between A and B spent elsewhere. And I think that's exactly right. I think the bottom line of what folks really want, what's going to make folks happy is lap lanes and an outdoor pool. As much as I love an indoor pool, I just think we have to think about other projects too.
Good perspective, yeah.
You can go ahead, it's fine.
I also was curious. I know, like what you were saying earlier, like a bubble or a cover that like goes away, and like an indoor and outdoor part that can go over it. Do you know how much that would cost? And I'm sorry if you already said it, but like how much would that cost?
When we vetted it, when we started the rec center, and that outdoor piece was there, when we started building the rec center, and that's why we went to indoors, is we did vet soft shell. We actually went down to YMCA in Louisville. At the time, it was about 380, 400. But talking to YMCA, this was, like I said, we started building in 2018. Talking to YMCA, experiencing it, there wasn't a clear, I mean, the air circulation, when Chris and I walked through it, just, there wasn't a lot of air circulation. The staff time to take it down, to put it away, to store it was challenging for them. Getting their perspective was they wouldn't do it. So we moved it indoors at the time, but that always does get brought up. That's why you saw a different perspective because with the roofs and stuff input. But the soft shell is just, it's the staff bringing it up and down. But at the time, it was around 400, probably 6 years ago, to do something like that. But it's just poor air circulation, lots of chlorine, back smell, lots of, maybe they've made improvements, but we just never pursued it.
And is that?
But that's a good point. Huh?
Are you talking about like a cloth cover or like those glass covers that you showed in those pictures earlier?
So the glass covers in your BNC. Now to get those moving, and if you want walls and ceiling was an extra, he suggested 400. But those have come, the glass ones was, he would pursue that if that's what you all wanted, in an enclosure. And we would not do that tonight. We would say, okay, you would, and it sounds like but you'd say, okay, we want to do this option and we want to come back and because to pursue all the input and the feedback is very time consuming and very expensive. So that's why I wanted to kind of clean up like you're doing. I was thinking the air underneath the cloth one is what you were asking me. For,
Yeah, sorry, I should have clarified. I was just asking because like we go down to Mountain View to go practice, and
Yeah.
of course I would prefer to stay here in Berthoud and practice. But I mean, going down to Mountain View is totally fine, but it would be a lot more convenient, and it would be a lot less gas to just keep it here. So.
If you guys don't mind, yeah, I have two questions now. One, I understand that these are types, right? So this isn't design. This is just an outdoor pool is going to cost around 7. 2 pools is going to cost around 18. Is there a significant difference when you get into the design, or is it, I mean, $7 million is not negligible, but if the actual specific designs of each one of these types, is it really changing the cost that much? Like if the shape of A is not ending up being what the shape of A is going to be, is that going to be $1 million, $2 million, or is it going to be a couple $100,000 difference?
Yeah, and that's unknown, and that's why they're make no mistake about it, these are designs.
Okay.
These are concepts, and so to show like the area, and I feel like I don't want to refuse myself because I don't want to offend anybody, but I get to go. But if you want to change the shape and different design, that's why there's a 6,000 square foot. Now, if you say, hey, we want to tweak this over here, tweak this over there, we just send it back to the consultant and see if that's what they can do as far as a pool. Some of this stuff that's been designed by the pool is designed for a reason because of zero entry and the lap lines and breaking waves and that sort of thing. And also depth of the ramps and stuff. When we go from 0, to 3 feet or whatever, when we turn the corner, where it says outdoor pool and the square footage in concept A, that also will ramp down from 3 to 5, maybe 4.5 feet when it hits the corner. So these have been pool designed based on their experiences of the activities that are in there and waves and things like that. Now, if you want to make them smaller or bigger, it might take a little bit of work, some challenge, and some more discussions just based on your site.
Okay.
It doesn't mean you can't turn them around. I just have to ask the pool if it works. What's taken into consideration is sun, how our sun moves and where it sets, where it rises, where we think we're gonna hourly have competitions or open swims, things like that.
Okay.
So, does that make sense?
Yeah, so I was
it'll move
confused.
and
Yeah, I was confused. So you could hypothetically build A as drawn for 6.8. That is a design.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
They've worked through the numbers. The pool guy says 60, whatever that says, I'm sorry, 6,200 square feet. He's put a unit number to it. Now, when I say that, you have to look at it because we did take the slides out. That's all that, when I talk about alt at or alternative ads, we didn't put everything in there because that's going to move the number up. But if that's what you guys were saying, that's why we left that kind of the same as basic. You know, I know you guys provided one too. But if you're saying, hey, we want a basic outdoor pool now, what I say, 3,500 square feet was the surface water of the old pool. This one's at 62 to give you some context
Yeah.
of
That's great.
surface water.
Big increase, yeah.
Yeah, so just so if you say, okay, that was a 50-year-old pool, and we wanna do a little bit better because we're growing, and we probably have more people in there, we want more capacity, that's where it kind of takes up that room, and then shows you where you can sit a little bit, and then you say, hey, we can't live without, two slides, or hey, a slide, or maybe we wanna put some money in. Now with this A, I will say there was also, somebody, anyway, that's probably going down a rabbit hole of a separate water thing too as well, but that'll increase that price, that's why you guys had that listed. Just know those prices, it goes up, and it's just a matter of what you want best to keep it simple as you want. But then it gets into checking boxes, and you want to keep it simple. So that's all what we're doing, it's awesome.
Does A not have bathrooms?
It does.
Okay.
It says garden locker rooms, but that would be the bathrooms. You don't wanna go too far for this reason. And once that's where we're at, clarification, we'll go to the board after this, we'll get your comments or your direction or recommendations. And go to the board, we're slated to go to the board the second one in April. So upcoming, I don't know what date that is off the top of my head. I think right the first, so in 3 weeks, 3 Tuesdays, we'll take recommendations and say, cause we need to spend our money on what you guys, come on.
I think the pending question is, since you had a slide that resulted from input from this committee previously in the board, what is the price tag
What's
on
the
that?
cost of
Go
that?
back to
Agreed.
that slide,
Yeah.
that's kind of the
Like
pending question.
like option A, 8-lane pool and or kiddie pool.
Right.
What's the cost of that?
So
Yeah.
this is what you want to price on.
Yes.
Something like that, or
We simplified thinking this should be less expensive, so we were going in the direction that was budget sensitive. But we got back the same version that we had already.
And just to clarify, because it came to you and then it went to the board as well. And
Right,
I'd say
and
the feedback was more or less the
The
same.
board was
it's
the same.
same, but there was a lot of curiosity for the indoor stuff. There was a
Well,
lot
and
of
I think
curiosity
you
for
did
meeting
exactly
the
what
needs of
was
a lot of
asked.
people. So that's why when that all goes back to the consultants, we don't always get the drawings we want back either. And I think they're trying to give us more options for more thinking and stuff like that. So it's not that we're not listening to feedback or anything. It's just the board talked about it for like an hour and a half. It was there was a lot of
I
input.
think this
And I know it got
simplified
condensed,
version,
but
we felt like that was progress.
No,
So-
but I think we asked for what you gave us, which is like we wanted to see what it would look like with or without so you did exactly what we were asking, and now it's just
So the designer took your deal and said, okay, the shallow area and lap lanes, and I know we're still debating 6 or 8, that's why we moved to the deal. But that's why we designed the little hooks and things like that for the brakes and the wave brakes.
Yeah.
The depth
Good.
can't go right into a lap lane.
No,
And I know
that's
it's
a mess.
simplified.
That's a mess.
I'm just
in
trying to understand
practice.
if it's simplified, so what,
go
What
to
are you
the
asking
town
that
park
didn't get
picture
done?
that you.
That's an L
we
shape,
added
right?
grass or put shade or what?
Well, most pools just have like a ramp and they always have
Could still be that
safety
could be an
lanes
L
up.
shape though.
between the shallow and the deep end.
And the Sunset Pool does that, so it has the lap lanes and then it goes into the curve, so it goes right into the more shallow.
So that could be a bigger pool that's, actually, we have Sunset.
And the waves get absorbed when you use a regular lane.
That's a much larger pool than our 6,500.
Oh, so
Or
you're
So
saying.
see the
width-wise,
zero
yeah.
entry comes from the other side, so you
Yeah.
see the wave break. So we couldn't, kind of leave that up to the.
What about the Winona? Does that have a shallow end?
Yeah, it's on the bottom. Yeah, you see how the lap lanes are, in both examples are off and they're kind of broke from
Okay, I think
zero entries.
I think you kind of generally know what we want,
Oh, okay.
right? Like,
Well, what about the pool in B? Can you show B? Because they redid that, that's a different.
Let's do that and then open up for public comment.
Yeah, I'm gonna,
And then
and that's why they're designed, I guess that's why they're designed.
But you mean making B 6,000
If you
square
just want a
feet?
simplified pool, we can get to that. We can get a simplified pool. It's
So
just a
five on
matter
that
of
one.
how many people you wanna get in there and do you want people to sit, what kind of amenities you wanna provide that when you're not swimming. But anyway, go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You want to open for public comment? Keith,
Oh, yeah, yeah, please.
public comment?
It sure is, isn't it?
This is where I've been thinking a lot about this for the people, honestly. This is where I'm coming out. First of all, I think your role is to create a vision of what the recreation needs of the town are and provide the leadership to get it done. And that took some strength and pushing to get the rec center built. Remember, the vote was like 49% no. And 2 votes carried that. And now look at it, 100,000 scans and growing and already underbuilt in just the 3 years it's been open. So I think we've got to think a little differently than we are. The thing that threw me the biggest curve is that Richardson Park could be done much sooner than the 10 to 12 years. Because then, depending on how soon that could get done, you're doing 2 outdoor pools, which you don't really need to do. You don't want to duplicate the expense. So I'm back to year-round lap swimming. Think about what, I mean, I can't tell you how anxious I am every Tuesday and Thursday when I go. Am I gonna get a lane or am I not gonna get a lane? It's used for swim lessons. It's used for water aerobics. I'm not sure whether they have water yoga or not, but it's used for training lifeguards. It's used for fire department training. I mean, I've seen all sorts of other uses. So I don't think we should call them necessarily lap lanes. They're swim lanes, and they're used for a lot of different things. I don't think you want to make a decision where you have forever 3 all year round lap lanes. And that's what you're thinking about. You're gonna get a lot of criticism, I think, if you don't have the ability to swim or swim team practice, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're year-round events. And building a summer-only pool just doesn't make sense from the standpoint of return on investment. It's good for 3 or 4 months. But I think the main thing is, right now, if you build that outdoor pool, you're duplicating probably what you're gonna have at Richardson. And on top of that, you're gonna end up with 3 lanes indoors year-round forever. Because there's no plan for anything else. My appeal to you is, let's get a vision instead of going around and around for a facility that Berthoud will be proud of and that will serve the future. And that, to me, I think it's either an indoor pool or it's an indoor-outdoor combination. But the point is, we need the lanes for year-round use. And I think we need to focus on that because you're going to be very disappointed. We're only 3, 10 years from now. Very, very disappointed. And there's going to be a lot of non-use. If you want to get into, I know a lot about specifics of designing pools because I've designed one. Sorry, I need some water. If you don't need the competition pool, that would be great. Thanks very much. If you don't need the competition pool, you can build a totally different kind of pool. be, doesn't need to be, 12, 15 feet deep. So if you want a pool to practice in birthing without driving your car, if you want a pool that just serves the uses I've discussed, you can do that. And the one I did in South Carolina was 3.5 to 5 feet deep. No diving boards, no starting blocks or anything like that. But it's plenty good for practice, I think. And it gives you the year-round capability at a much lesser price. So I'm also told that you have a 1% sales tax. It's thrown off quite a bit of money. So I would not think you need, the town board does, but you don't need to think about the budget as much. I think you need to tell the board, this is our vision. And you provide the leadership to get it done. I can answer questions about anything you want, but I think there's different ways to do a year-round lab facility. I mean, you can have 2 separate pools. You can have an indoor and outdoor. What we've suggested, or I've suggested, is a pavilion with, which is not going to be very expensive, with open air sides. You can build adjacent to that. You can build a small kiddie pool, and have what you need, at least for now. In 2, 3 years from now, you'll have Reader's Edge. So that's my thinking. Hey, sorry about my voice. Been sitting here too long.
Thank you.
Thank you for the water.
Any other public comment?
Got it. Okay, so we've had presentation that kind of give you guys a picture of more of the entire master planning with the town and how this can fit in possibly. We've got these new designs we're looking at that looked into, I think, some extra questions because the pool was moving very quick, right? It was trying to get it done as quick as possible. And then we started getting a couple thoughts on year-round indoor and things. After the last 2 meetings, it felt like there was like okay, let's take another second to really make sure we're doing it right because we don't want to screw this up because it's an important amenity, right? So now we have all that and we've brought this back in to you all. So the best thing we can get is like clearing all that up exactly. If it's all on the same page with you all, with the last comments, with the whole big picture.
One question to muddy the waters before we move forward.
Yep.
On B, which you kind of touched on this in the beginning because of the bathrooms, like, is it possible to build, a little bit smaller of a pool to the south and leave that space open to put something in the future, whether it be basketball courts, indoor pool, etc. Does that make sense?
You mean just in B, just leave it open out and take
Like
minutes
do
on
the
it?
pool of B as soon as possible.
The outdoor.
Yeah, the outdoor, the outdoor pool of B now, and leave the space between that and the rec center open for now.
I mean, I don't know if I can answer that. It'd have to be probably a design, common sense answer, and I don't know if that's what you want. The pipes are at the building.
Yeah.
Everything, I mean, it's just be further to go. I don't know if that would create, an extra pump room, depending on that size, mechanical room or not. They don't show it, I don't think. But to leave that open, I think it would be best just to move it so it's one congruent, because you never know when that is. And then looking at it, why that's open and stuff, I think it would be best. I can ask designers to do, if they can do that, but the pipe, one, the pipes are next to the building, two, who knows if that's gonna be 10 years, 15, 20, we're just open.
Yeah.
Somebody might start planting trees after, I leave, so, or you all leave, the next group or something. So to put, we would just suggest that you would just, we would put it up next to the building to make it efficient. And also for staff support or entry or however we're gonna take, the swimmers in and that sort of thing, fencing. But yeah, that's that big picture
And that's
pulling
only
back.
like the magical, like,
Yeah,
let's get it pulled out and leave some room for
Yeah.
something to do.
Yeah.
Can I ask a
Probably not
question?
realistic.
Okay, to Mr. Heineman's point about the indoor pool, let's say option C is on the table. I still go back to, what does Richardson look like with, what would that look like? Would it, like, I'm still trying to understand what, like, to the point about what is the vision with these two pools that we're talking about, these two outdoor pools, or,
That's why we brought it
Yeah.
back, because all the ideas came together, not just you all, but phone calls or survey. That's why we provided these. Now, the design is in the construction document. So what would it look like? It would go back to design. We would talk about it. Would it be removed? I don't know. Would it get smaller? I don't know. It might stay the same, and it might be built in 12 years. It might be built in 15 years, right? Right now, there's no discussions to continue to do that. What I'm showing tonight is the big picture, if that's, but it sounds like we want. So to say, what could it look like if we built something here? I don't know if I can answer that correctly. All I know is what I have today is a done construction plan that we can use and start to. That may take 6 or 7 years, depending on what the board decides, if they want to fund something like that. They may decide to say, hey, that's 8 or 10. But to say, if we do a bunch of stuff here, what could that look like later? I'd just say, do what you want to do here and let that worry about itself 8 or 10 or 11 years down the road.
because I think,
That's to be determined.
I mean, like, we
Some of
don't
it.
know I mean, Richardson could be 10 to 12 years out, or it could be 3 to 5. Like, we don't know that. There could be other priorities. Parks, open space trails,
Yeah.
those could slide in as
Absolutely.
higher priority. So, like, depending on Richardson right now, like, to be anywhere in the near future, I feel like that's bringing up false hope for people. So I feel like
Yeah,
it's like,
there's a lot
also
there.
looking at what does the town need / want now?
Yeah.
And how can we build that so it does accommodate like the future growth of the town too?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of how all of our discussions have been going and how we've landed is
Yeah. A good
Town
plan.
Park 2.0, basically.
Yeah.
Outdoor was, that was
Yeah.
the key word that came across from the town pool. Doesn't matter if it's 2 or 3
And-
months a year, that's what you do in the summer, that's what.
And
teenagers
it's
do.
not all about ROI physical dollars. It's also about, to Callie's point, return on your, happiness too, which you can't put a dollar amount on that.
That's true.
Would it be in the card to, for option A, to make it more like the Winona one, so it's not funky shapes, it's just like the Winona one was just kind of like down and out like that, kind of like a C shape, and then to honor the idea of having a year-round pool to get that dome thing, so then, yes, we get an outdoor pool for everybody who wants an outdoor pool, everybody who, thought the rec center was gonna have it and didn't, which, but also to have more lap lanes year-round. Like, do you think that's an option?
I would suggest that we put that back to your group instead of me individually pursuing design elements once you guys decide on what it is you want. Because what I've shown is concepts of indoor and outdoor and both. And kind of what I'm hearing is that you guys want simple and outdoor and you want to go back to somewhat of an A and back to your deal. But so I don't know if I want to start entertaining what if we do it indoors again, if that's not what you guys are thinking, cause
Well, and is A just a
You see what I'm
concept or
saying?
is A a design? Cause I
Say
thought,
that.
I thought I heard A was actually a design.
all of them have been designed to this level.
Okay.
To give you an accurate scale on the property.
So just
to give you
concept
square
design.
footage.
Still just a
We
concept.
would just take this and we would continue with it. We wouldn't start over.
Yeah.
We've worked, I don't know, 2 months, to get them to the spot. They put a lot of, they put their time and energy. These aren't, just, they're conceptual until they get to the, a DD level or a CD level. This is part of the process. We just did an extra step because all the other outside, not you guys per se, but we heard retractable roofs, we heard indoors, we heard 8 lanes, 6 lanes, dive boards, no dive board. So we just wanted to show those. Now, if you're not interested in any of that, and we're good. It's just we just need to go with that. We as staff were confused as what are we building? What is the ask? As a totality of committees and boards and surveys and, you know what I'm saying?
We make a motion.
Yeah.
To pursue working on an improved design of option A.
I would make a
So
recommendation.
I will make that motion
Ultimately, it's the board decision. What date?
to recommend to the board.
Yes,
To,
yeah.
or to provide that recommendation from Port
Whatever that is,
to
yep.
continue pursuing option A. Or, based on the feedback that's already been given, the 8 lanes, the kiddie pool, whatever.
The
Winona,
other-
et
the other
cetera, Town
slide.
Park 2.0 slides.
Yeah, the other slide.
Say what now?
The other slide.
One with Winona and Sunset and all that, right?
Say it a little louder.
Winona and Sunset, that slide.
No.
This one.
No.
Oh, no,
The
not
next
this slide,
one.
sorry.
The next one,
The 8 lanes, kiddie pool.
that one.
That one.
Yeah.
But I think she said there's some
Yeah.
design issues with
No,
that.
no.
So you
Well,
want-
there's some design, but like
Yeah.
the 8-lane concept, right? Yes,
And
which has
separate
already
kid-
been
and a separate kiddie pool. I think.
separate kiddie pool, yeah. So to improve upon option A based on feedback already provided by Port and the board.
That's great feedback. So if I can ask this for clarity for them as well as for me. So we can do that, pursue, concept A, right? So you're saying, and this is great, so 8 lane, put that in your.
Yep.
8 lanes, that decision's made by the port for your port group.
Kiddie pool,
Say it again?
kiddie pool.
Okay, put that in your thing.
Yep.
Shade, pursuit, shade, diving board.
Can you just lay this slide over the design for A, so it's just a different shape of pool, basically?
But this needs to be,
Keep all the other, the bathrooms, the shades.
this will need to be scaled and
See.
set to design. This is a square with a shallow area. I don't,
So everything that we've already recommended and that the board has
That's what
already
you want.
recommended to do a revamp on option A.
Okay.
I will make that motion. Does somebody want to second that?
But put
Or is there further comment?
So it's just the basic, put the 8 lanes, put your kiddie pool, separate kiddie pool. 0 entry, right? 0 entry. Shade, 1 diving board, so we're not, no slides. It's just so when I get there, I want, recommendations of that.
Great.
And
Well, and on A, it has like potential future slides in the corner or something. like
Lawn
that.
area.
well, then we need to explain that.
Well,
That's
it says
why
it
we're.
in that design, it says,
It says it on.
it
the
says,
Okay,
design.
that's-
potential slide.
Something.
I don't know.
So-
Leave it for future potential, even though it's not in the current.
And I like the lawn that's in the current. I think the lawn is important
Yes,
to a lot of
lawn-
folks. I
Lawn
do.
is Keep everything except the shape of the pool.
I like it a lot.
The shape and size. and the
So
kiddie
we
pool.
just do A, or do we, or, you guys need to help.
Hey,
with
I
the
mean, I
group,
think
'cause
we're.
some people are just saying, do the port design drawn.
No,
That speaks when you do all.
I really like the Winona concept because I remember you mentioned something about the waves like being broken by the middle of that. And like the Winona one is like a mix of the one that we made and option A. It's just like more
scale issue
Yeah,
though.
the designers will probably like know what is whether or not our port design is actually workable or not, right? Don't you think, with the waves and everything? So let the designers do their designing too.
Yeah, so
It's
6,500 square feet, I mean, what is your pool that you guys are, what is your surface water, what is your
We want it, we
If that's
want
almost double the town
competition.
park,
huh?
if that's almost double the town park, to me, that seems like
Yeah,
it's
the
setting
town
price
park is
the right spot.
3,500 square
Yeah.
feet of water, this one drawn is 6,200.
Well, even that's why I was saying the drawing for B, I think is more what we're looking for, 'cause it has a kiddie pool. I mean, I get it doesn't have as many lanes or whatever, but to me, that is more.
The outline of the pool, is,
Right, the outdoor pool design for B,
Just make it bigger.
just make it 8 lanes instead of 6. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that works for me.
What A is missing is 8 lanes and a separate kiddie pool,
Yep.
basically.
And what B is missing is the lab blades.
Same.
So,
And I think it is a pretty, I mean, I guess I should ask, it's probably fair to say it's a significant cost difference to have a separate body of water.
Yes.
I mean, probably $1 million kind of thing.
What's that?
Probably another $1 million
I'm
potentially.
not sure because,
Yeah.
again, it goes into the square footage. Now, if we expand the square footage, so if we take B, that's why we do the conceptual, these have been designed. So if we take 5,000 and you go, okay, now I want 8 lanes in that design with that zero entry, we'd have to probably shrink it to get back to the number. Otherwise, we're just driving it up, and then that's okay. But then also what it drives it to is if we do another body of water, which we can,
Right.
it may drive another mechanical system.
That's what I'm
I don't
getting
have
at,
that
yeah.
level of
but it's with and
expertise.
without the kiddie pool. You can do an estimate with and
I
without,
don't
right?
know that.
No, but that's
Yeah,
something you
I think
can
that's
look
a good,
into,
I
right?
support
Like,
that.
we understand the kiddie pool may get axed, but we want to see what it would look like with and
Absolutely.
without. Right?
Yep.
There
Because
were
I
already numbers on
Sounds
that
good.
slide. Didn't you put numbers on it for the 8 lanes? The additional cost to have 8 versus 6, and the additional cost to have a separate kiddie pool?
I did.
Are those in addition to the 6.8?
They are.
Because I think, like, for me personally, the kiddie pool, like, zero entry was sufficient until I learned, till Amanda shared with us how frequently
The poop fan.
Yes.
there are accidents in the pool. Like, I didn't even know that was,
Well, there's gonna be
issue.
accidents in either pool
or a thing to
all
think
day long.
about.
Right, but if there's
If you have
accidents in
3,
a
you have
separate
4.
body of water,
Yep.
then they don't have to
That's the only
close the
reason
other
why
pool.
the
Right.
kiddie pool really came
That
up.
doesn't prevent.
Kids will be in the other pool too.
That doesn't prevent anybody from going to the other pool as well
Right.
and doing it 3 seconds later.
Right, it's just,
Minimizing risk.
But also, if they do it,
diapers.
the beauty of this one is they can go right inside and wait the hour? They can go inside and jump off the cliff for an hour or go down the slide for an hour and come back.
Hour to 24 hours, right?
An hour.
Is that a
It's, yeah,
duplication?
you wanna get, I got a concept for that. Liquid versus not.
Okay,
See, it's a lot to it.
We
so I
got it, we
appreciate you
landed
guys.
this, right?
okay, further discussion. So I'm gonna remake the motion to,
I
Re-
have
recommend-
one further question, not having young kids. Is it a duplication to have a kiddie pool and a zero entry
Yes.
area? Do you need both?
no, you don't. It's Town Park 2.0 with a
Right, so
with a
there-
kiddie pool.
So we're saying.
You
the
could get rid of
zero-
the-
if There's a separate kiddie pool, a zero entry area is not needed?
What about mobility issues?
Yeah, that's true. And I guess it depends on, I don't know if the zero entry is necessarily more.
Well, a lot of
But it
kids
could be
just have that
smaller than what it
lift.
is on
Have-
it.
Don't they have zero entry in the indoor?
In the zero entry, or do you just step right
No,
in?
there's stairs,
Not
right?
the
It's
rock.
not zero entry at the rec center. I mean, like the play area is, but not,
No, yeah,
Pool
it's stairs,
itself.
it's stairs.
it's stairs.
The play area is zero entry.
Yeah.
There's a little path around it. There's a zero.
So if there's zero entry inside and there's a separate kiddie pool outside, does the outside pool need to have a zero entry area also? That's my question.
I guess it depends on cost.
You
So
gotta
if
figure
zero entry is more expensive, then maybe not. If zero-
Challenges of stairs, you got wheelchairs that maybe someone wants to wheel in there. You got people that don't do stairs well, that just wanna walk in to ankle high, or you got little ones that may just wanna walk in. You take that away. Just suggestion.
Nice leisure feature.
You can certainly remove it, if that's what you.
Well, they go to the other side of the pool though.
But yes, this will have a machine as well.
To lift
Us
the
too.
equipment out of the water.
Yep.
Okay, that's good. Is zero entry more or less expensive?
Did you? This is the one I knew. I was laughing coming in.
Any,
Here we go
any
again. The
water you
pool.
take away is gonna be what's gonna cost.
No, I told the wife, I'm like, just eat without me. She's like, really? I'm like, yeah.
I mean, depends on what you do. If you remove it, yeah. If you say, okay, we want zero entry, we want a bigger pool square,
Happy was like, yeah.
just go back same cost or even more because there's more depth to it. You
But we want the
actually
depth for
raise the
competition.
price.
There are requirements for the
Oh, no,
competition.
he was saying like,
Oh.
take away the zero entry and make it like 3 feet. Audrey?
Just like one quick question. Are there gonna be diving blocks in the, or in the, lane part?
Diving blocks and if you do swim lanes, yeah. Because one of the prerequisites to outdoor is to fill that swim team need. Yep, that's a good point too. There will be diving blocks. Or the ability to do so.
Do you wanna make your motion?
Motion's still on the table, but basically a motion to recommend to the board by Port to work on a revamp of A, also considering some of the design elements of the B outdoor portion that we just kind of discussed, and looking at with or without kiddie pool, 8 lanes, everything that we talked about in the notes on it.
But just sticking to that outdoor plan.
Yeah, outdoor.
Yes.
Just make sure that it's just
Okay,
all
so second,
recommended.
anyone
I don't
second?
want to have to figure it out what those amenities are. So whatever you guys deem those are, we need to get them in the recommendations.
Does everyone want to go down and say,
Yeah.
is everyone in favor? All those in
Do
favor?
all in favor say aye?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Cool. Thank you. for your
Well
time.
done. You got it done.
Thank you.
Thanks for your patience with us.
The red light's on. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go on to staff updates.
Yeah. First, I'm honored you guys liked my rectangle pool.
Did you do that? We
Yeah.
like that.
I was like, I think this is what we're talking about, but at that time, I definitely didn't know about the weight breaks and all that stuff. But, yeah. All right, things going on. Arbor Day is April 26th at Pioneer Park, 10 a.m. So Paul and his team, and I think they're planting 6 or 7 trees. So it's, I think there's coffee and donuts and things like that. So the trail, you've probably seen the trail being built along North Bertha Parkway. So I think we would expect that to be open in the next, I don't know, next month maybe. I think that we'll have to talk about it because the signal lighting stuff takes longer to get in and stuff like that. So that the signal light might not actually go in until June or something like that, but it's moving along. We're talking about, the part of it takes you up on Bertha Parkway and back off. We're talking about trying to get across the ditch now. So like everything, we're always trying to make everything better. It's what we could get done right now. The ditch is its own thing. The handy ditch has their own rules, and I don't think we're the only ones working on a crossing across the ditch. I think Vantage is also, and they've been working on it for years as well. So we know we want to get across the ditch in a different way than over on top of Bertha Parkway. So just so y'all know. You got these little books. Sorry, I've had these. These were supposed to be your Christmas present, but we didn't have a January meeting, so I kept forgetting to bring them for a couple months.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, that's all I had.
pointing people to Town Park.
Yeah, I think Stephanie's gonna help me do a lot of marketing and signage, so.
'Cause that might be good, cause, you know, like where it was before, it's right there.
Yeah.
And people might not know about it.
Yeah, we need to do a lot of signage. But yeah, if you guys can help spread the word too.
What's the date?
Every Saturday,
Starting
June 14th.
9 to 1 this year. Last year it was 8 to noon. We moved it 9 to 1. Last year people just felt like it was too early.
It's a good option to have it on Saturday because I think Loveland Farmers Market is Sunday, right? And a lot of people don't go to Boulder because it's too crowded. So, I mean, there's definitely people that are interested if there's enough produce there and food to buy.
I think Town Park's gonna bring that traction. I mean, we're told already it's packed anyway there. So, better
Yeah,
the
it's already
traction,
worried
better the
about
vendors,
that.
things like that. And I'll end, thank you, Jeremy, for coming in and joining. Giving, sharing every little bit he had about the town and the project, so.
Made your meeting a little bit longer. Sorry about that.
We like the
I don't
big
think it was
picture.
you.
We're always prepared. All right, so committee updates, Audrey?
Yes, we had a meeting this morning and I would have written notes, but I grabbed a white ink pen this morning, so that's cool. But anyways, we talked more about our youth summit that is coming up soon. I believe it's May. May 9th. We're having a little bit of trouble getting people to sign up, so we all decided to pick a meeting to attend, and we're all just gonna go to different youth meetings and, advertise for them and ask them to join us for the first youth summit. And we discussed a speaker application, and we're thinking about her. So yeah. And come visit me at the craft fair.
Carrie? I don't really have any updates. Thanks, Jeremy, also for coming. It was really nice to get the big picture. I really enjoyed that a lot. And Keith, I'm super excited about that trail on Berthoud Parkway. It looks great.
No, cool,
I'm very excited.
awesome.
But I don't have any updates.
I have no updates.
I'm guessing there's not any new news, but regarding the school zone on 56.
Oh,
I mean, I know it's been removed, and I know
Mhm.
many people have given CDOT their input, but I'm guessing you guys haven't heard anything
just got an email about that.
from CDOT since.
I mean, we kind of put our fight into it last year, because we've known this is, the speed study was finished last year, along Highway 56, and that it was then that they told us, that the school zone had to be removed because the school is not on Highway 56. And that's their standards now. And so we fought it, Montgomery County Sheriff's Office fought it, trying to get it, so, we've been talking about the recommendations, kids coming down, walking at this traffic light, things like that. As a whole, we're not excited about mid-block crossings, which is what we call that, like crossing not at an intersection. Like, if that was today, we probably never would have done that crossing. We would, everyone should be going to the light, crossing at a regular crosswalk, and then trying to stop traffic mid-block, especially across the highway, so.
But my understanding was they put that in because the kids were just running across the street. Is that not?
Yeah, and that's the thing that happens, yeah, yeah.
They were going to make sure
We're gonna do it.
Working with
They
middle
run across the
schoolers
street.
too, so
Yes.
unfortunately,
I mean,
they're not
Prefrontal
doing
cortex
well.
issues.
the way I usually see it is, they're not even pushing the button half the time, things like that, so. But yeah, so the crosswalk's gone, I mean, not the crosswalk, the signal, the
The
school
20 mile
zone's
an hour
gone.
speed bump.
I believe they put pedestrian signs up though, or something maybe.
They dropped the speed limit to 25 because I guess it was 30 through there. This is what CDOT emailed me back.
Yeah.
They dropped the speed limit to 25 because that area up to that stoplight was 30 and now it's 25. And they left the flashing light on the speed limit sign. Just not, they like took out the, if the sign that said,
The 20 mile an hour.
yep, and put a 25-mile-an-hour sign up where that 20-mile-an-hour school zone sign was and left the light on it. So it's still a flashing light.
Okay.
I haven't gotten another email back because I had more discussion.
I got some email about that as well, and besides those points, CDOT apparently is also going to allow traffic guards to operate even though it's Highway 56.
And I have seen
there has
Kelly
been-
has been out there. I didn't know if that was on her own or.
Well, the district, my understanding, which maybe if this has been in the works for a year, but my understanding was the district did not know.
They were supposed to tell us, and then it just happened.
Right.
So we actually thought it was gonna happen last fall.
So the district scrambled.
And-
now they are,
yeah.
I guess, considering, like, the crossing guard
We-
thing is tricky and they typically, like, in Berthoud, they're not paid. It's really hard to get crossing guards. So I know they're looking at paying someone now to do it, but even watching Kelly do it is dangerous. Like, I was just
Even with her vest and
dangerous
her
all
stop
around.
sign.
Yeah, it's not, I was thinking, I mean, I'm sure, they have the ones that, the crosswalks where you push the button and then it turns, there's a red light and you're required, like, ideally, that's what is needed there. Cars have to be, like, very clearly required to stop.
Yeah.
Because even with the flashing and even with Kelly, like, then she's trying to direct 4 lanes of traffic, and, like, that's not a great option. So, I mean, it's a tricky intersection anyway, and 5 miles an hour, how much of a difference does that make? Because it was dangerous when it was 20 miles an hour. So, like, is the 20-mile-an-hour part that big of a deal? I think it's more just, in general, it either needs to be a stop, the thing where they push it and it becomes a stoplight, or, I don't know.
Yeah.
Schoolers aren't gonna.
Which would alleviate some of the complaints about that intersection, that they say that the kids push the light, run across, and then the next kid walks up, pushes the light, runs across. Like, so they're saying that at those busy times, it just stays flashing for the whole time. So people are kind of, it's like alarm fatigue. People don't realize it's happening because it's just continuously happening. So if it were some situation where they could put some sort of an actual stop, like a red light stop, that might
Because I had that
eliminate
in
that.
other school, like, I just noticed one in Fort Collins last week on LeMay, that's near a school, and it has the stoplight portion, so, when you push the, wait for the pedestrian,
Right.
and then it flashes yellow, and like, but I was just curious what the town was informed of, or
Yeah,
knowing going forward. So.
yeah, I think, we asked for, hey, give us a heads up when it's actually gonna happen, and then for a second thought, maybe they're not gonna do it, and then all of a sudden it was done, and, so yeah, it's just the coordination sometimes with them. I think it's been on their sign team's list for a while, and then they just never got to, like, tell us it was actually gonna happen for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's definitely, like, on Taft going into Loveland, there's 20-mile-an-hour zone there, and it's not directly, that's on a CDOT road, but that's not right next to the school. The
That's
school
what-
is in that neighborhood. There's a lot of places where there's a school zone not adjacent to the school, but obviously CDOT has different regulations than other municipalities, so.
Yeah, that was definitely the shock of the speed study that was done, when that came back, so. It was, we're trying to get speed limits organized, from here, and then different developments coming in, and speeds, like getting the speed limit from east of the roundabout to the cemetery, that doesn't need to shoot up to 55 because we have neighborhoods all around it now, like, and yeah, so speeds kind of went down, but then they get rid of the school zone, so that's not something they tell you when you go through that process.
For me, I just wanted to mention, I went to the rebranding meeting for the town. And one of the exercises that they had us do in the meeting was to write down words that we associate with the town of Berthoud and kind of just get an idea of what people's perception of the town is, or like, what's the first thing you tell people? And I thought it was really nice and interesting to hear parks and recreation and trails, all of that came up quite a bit throughout all the people that were at the meeting and how much they appreciate all of that, so.
That's cool.
Good job.
I don't have anything, thank you.
Cara?
The only thing I had for you guys was kind of a question to have a heads up. During citizen participation at the last meeting, a citizen was complaining about leash laws for cats. There apparently are none in Berthoud, and they were having an issue with a cat coming across the fence line and aggressively playing slash scaring their cat who is inside their yard. So if you guys could just give feedback or ask around, or if anything, if you hear of anything, if you could let me know. Or
An outdoor cat or someone was walking their cat?
there are no leash laws on outdoor cats. So even pet cats who are not outdoor cats, they can just run around because there are no leash laws that prohibit that. And cats just do whatever they want, right? They jump fences, etc.
This is just extra funny because last week I had my patio door open and our neighbors, there are outdoor cats in our neighborhood, and a cat came running in. We don't have cats in my house, and I screamed outside, like, "Oh, there's a cat here!" Cat jumped up on my kitchen counter, and I had to call the neighbor to come and get the cat out of my kitchen. So it's just very funny that you say that because
I picked up Karen's sister about
So sorry.
when they posted on Facebook and they're like, this cat came in my house, is that your cat? And I'm like, back out, I'll be right there.
Are there any, places anyone knows of that have leash laws for cats?
No, but I seem to remember that there are municipalities who you're not allowed to let your cat run around. You can't just let your cat out. You can't have an outdoor cat because cats just go wherever they want, right? So there are, and I'm not proposing this in any way, but there are restrictions on the ability for cats to just run around when you're not paying attention to what they're doing. But there are no leash laws. I mean, I have seen people walk cats on leashes, but I always thought it was
But I feel like
cool
it's us being
is
a
also
farming-
an adjective. Like,
Like being a farming community, most of the farms in and
Right.
around town have barn cats.
Right, and-
So I don't know that that's a fight we wanna.
exactly, and that's just, you know, I don't care. I don't have a cat in the fight one way or another, but sorry. But just, you know, if I can have any feedback, if other people complain, et cetera, if this becomes an issue, I would just like to have data for it.
Sounds like it's an issue.
Well, it was not to diminish it, but it was one person,
Yeah,
right, who had a very specific
Yeah.
instance.
Yeah.
Because the cat that ran into your house, it didn't cause any problems. It just was,
well, it sounds like it caused a problem.
right.
I don't like cats anyway. Like, oh, this is so gross, and you're in my kitchen. Like,
Maybe you could ask Dr. Kaiser here to just give a little one-paragraph explanation about the species, the nature of cats. I mean, coming from somebody like her, because what can we say? I mean, I'm not sure.
Audrey, sorry.
So I'm just curious, does her cat still get to be allowed outside in her backyard if other cats have to be on leashes outside? Like,
It's saying on your own property.
still, the cat could jump the fence.
That's why
It could happen.
it has to be under supervision, I think is the correct term.
Sure.
So yes, you can let your cat out, but if it runs around, if it goes off of your property, then it has to be on leash or under voice command. So good luck with that.
Impossible to enforce.
Verbal command.
Yes, and I assume the barn cat issue is why it's never been.
And it-
Never
like
been,
in the neighborhood, we have, like we've
Right.
always had neighbors with cats running around, and it has in the past been an issue between neighbors because
Mhm.
they didn't like their cat going in their yard, and that's just
Yeah,
something people have to work through.
and the same thing happened. I had a neighborhood cat that would always look longingly at my chickens, and I was, you know, always prepared to take care of that problem. Yes. But it never became an issue because it would run away or it never did anything negative. So the cat's in my backyard, it's killing mice. So, you know, whatever.
That's my take is. Not just bullies. I don't want it in my kitchen if it's eating some mice for me.
anyway, that's that is what it is. Just if there's anything that particular damaging comes to mind, or if you hear anything that's dangerous or in any way, shape, or form, please just let me know.